I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. Please hit like, and let's get on with this video. This video was requested by somebody on how to sharpen gravers. So I did a sharpening of gravers a while back. I have a number of different types of gravers, but the ones I use for my watch work are carbide gravers. So if I can just get the brand name up there, maybe. So Ottofrie, OTTOFRIE.com. There's a phone number, a 1-800 number, 772-3456. And this is a GRS tungsten carbide graver, 2 millimeters. So it's 2 millimeters times whatever, but it's 2 millimeters. And if I look at this graver, let's see if this one's the right one. And I can see that the end is triangular, so there's a triangle on the end. So you need one of these gravers. I just decided to go carbide because they cut the blued steel so well you don't have to worry about there's chattering or anything else that you might have while you're cutting. So I use these ones here. They're excellent. So these are my gravers that I use for the initial cuts when I'm making a balance staff. And then I'll just put this aside. Then I've got 4 other gravers that I use. So they're flat and they're rounded. So and I mark them because they're so small. I've got 2 flat and 2 round, and I've got 4 flat and 4 round. So let me show you what a 4 flat looks like. Same thing here. These are Valerobe, so they're Swiss made. They're probably about 20 bucks a piece. They're not cheap. But I've had these for so long, they'll last a lifetime. That's a long time if you sharpen them well. So you're cutting with the very tip of this. So let me see if I can grab my tweezers here. You're cutting with the tip, which is right here. So this is the part that's actually doing the cutting, not the fat part on the bottom. So it's the tip. It's the tip that does the cutting. And these ones are flat. So when I sharpen them, I've got to sharpen them flat. They've got a little downward sloping angle on the top. You do or don't have to do that, but I do. And then they're flat. So these are for the 4 flat are for the major cuts, but it's for finesse work. So you're making a balance staff and you're removing material, and you want to remove a lot of material, but it's really finesse work. So those are 4 flat. And then 4 round, again. These ones are for cutting if you're working on the pivot on the end of the balance and you're trying to cut a cone shape, it's for cutting that angled cone right on the end of the balance. So these are rounded on the end. See how those things are not flat? So right where my grotesquely long fingernail is, it's not that long, I guess, but it's long enough. Good for opening watch cases, by the way. That fingernail is right where the rounded part is, like that. And these are probably still sharp from last time. Yeah, they're not even sliding down my thumbnail. They're so sharp. But I'll show you how those are sharpened. So those are the 2 flat and 2 round. When I'm getting to near the end of the pivot, I'll go to usually 2 round. I usually don't have to go 2 flat. I will also use those to take little tiny bits of material off where the collar is for the balance, or the collar for the roller table, or the collar for the hairspring collet, as I remove material and I taper it up, right? So I'm going to try to explain that to the folks at a lecture I'm giving on Sunday morning, this upcoming Sunday. So these then fit into my graver handles. I'll get those out in a second, but I want to show you what sharpeners there are. So let's move to that. I'm not even going to snap over. I bought this sharpener here, which is not too bad. This sharpener actually works okay for these because they're rounded. So if I took a 4 flat, I'm able to stick that in this sharpener here like that, and then I'm able to adjust this here by hand or using you'd never use an Allen key in here. It'd be too tight to use, so you could do this by hand. And here you're kind of eyeballing the angle to make sure it's absolutely flat and resting it down. And when you rest that down, you want this angle, I'll show it to you this way hopefully, you want that to be flat, and you can see it standing up. It's not flat. So this wouldn't work because you'd have to jack it way back like that in order for this to lay down flat enough. So that's not going to work for these gravers at all. So I thought it might, but it doesn't. So it's just poopy bump. So this one here is one you can get on Amazon or anywhere else. It's not too bad actually. So it's got two. This is a softer material. This is steel. So this is brass, and it's a softer material. And the good thing about this is it's got the teardrop in there that'll grab the edges of the graver, but not for these ones. These are tougher to work on. So if I were to use this, I'd have to put it at the top like that again, and then tighten this like that, right? So they're rounded, and keep moving it, like rotating it so it's adjusted until I get to what I think is the right angle, and then go like this. And that's not as bad. I'll show you. So that's the angle. I gotta still go a long way down, which means for me, I know by experience that this thing here would be way over like this, and I'd be squeezing the blade here itself, which I don't like doing because they're graphite and there's a chance that that might snap off, right? So this will work on the triangular gravers. So these ones here though, these ones, let me see if I can get this out without poking myself. This is, you see, this is the one that I put through my hand there a couple of weeks ago. That's for making jewel settings. I've specifically pointed that one. So this is one of the ones with the face. I got to do some work on this one because it's not perfectly flat. I want this to be ready for the lecture. So this one here, I can put in here, and the base is it's basically a square, right? You can see that that's a square. So when I put that in, some simple math would tell you that it'll sit square in that hole. So if I got like that, it's sitting square. I know that the thing is really square there. So this is good. All I need to do is lower this, right, so that it's going to be jacked up and flat. So I see how far back I have got to go before I get this thing flat. It's quite a ways, quite a ways. It's still not flat. It might be flat there. Let me have a look. So tighten that up like that. Have a look, see if that's flat. Is that flat? Let me turn the light on here so we can, I do have a camera light, which I should have been using, but look at that. So that there looks like it's flat. I also have autofocus. You'd think it would work. So that's pretty damn good. So I'm going to leave that in here because I'll be able to use that to sharpen this. So I'm going to look at that really closely. So what would I sharpen this with? I'll show you the third one later. I'm going to show you this one later, but I'll show you some technique first. So you take your plate. So you take your plate, and I buy these from AliExpress China, and they got some Chinese. And what this says in Chinese is JD is an amazing watchmaker. That's what that says in Chinese. So these are diamond plates, and they're cheap as hell off AliExpress. Don't pay a lot of money for these. I think I got like 3 of them or 4 of them for $10. So, and they're pretty good. And these ones are 2500 grit. So I think that's 2500 grit, and that's really good. So to sharpen this properly, I want to get up nice and close and see and make sure that this is flat. So let me have a look at that. So I'm looking at this right now, and I can see a gap at the heel. So when you look at this, you can see that there's a gap at the heel. You can see it. The toe is pointing in, but the heel is a gap. So I would actually have to move this up a bit, right? So just loosen that up like this, and then move that up just a tad, tighten it, and have a look again. So the value behind this one, again, is that you're not farting around. Yeah, look at that. So that's not too bad right there. That's almost absolutely flat. Put my loop on like this, and then have a look at it. And it's just a tiny bit on the heel right now. And if you leave it like that, you're going to waste material. So I want this to be down a bit more. I think I don't want this to be at the heel. I want it to be down just a bit more. And you'll actually scrape material off trying to get the thing to be totally flat. So if I look at it now, and that is about as flat as I want to get it. So that's perfect there. And so I just tighten that up. And I know I know because of the base of this sharpener that it's sitting, it's a teardrop, it's sitting there, so you can have a look at that. The sharpener has got a nice wide roller on it, which is nice. And now, when I sharpen this, I'll show you what I do. You keep a firm grip on both sides. Don't push too hard because you'll push this piece right up and screw up your sharpening. And then what you do is you watch for material coming off. You watch on the plate for material coming off, and I can see the material coming off. When you get it sharp enough, you'll see the soot, like black material. You see that on the end there? See that right on the end? That's the black material. Let me just move that there. See, it's gone. So that black material come off uniformly, and if you do it, if you basically have it almost flat when you start, it's not gonna take very long to sharpen the graver, right? So that's pretty much sharp. And if I look at the face of the graver, I'm just trying to make it shine there, you'll see that all areas of the face are also in play. I don't see any diamond shapes on the bottom or anything. It's perfectly flat like that. So this graver is done. So that's perfect. That's ready to be used. I'll just set that aside and grab the next graver. And I want to get these two gravers in working order for the wonderful lecture that I plan on giving. So same thing here again. So I take the graver, throw it in, the pointy parts upward, and roll it down. I know from my last graver that's probably somewhere around there, like that. So I just have to tighten that up. It'll find home, right? So if you look at it like that, it's sitting there in the slot nicely, and it's going to be nicely squared off. So I got this like this, and I'm just going to look at it again to see how flat that is, and to see if the toe or the heel is sticking up. So I'm going to bring it up to my face again and have a quick look. All right, so the heel is touching. So if the heel is touching, then I know that it's got to go down a bit more for the toe to touch, or for it to be complete flat. So I grab the graver and I just pinch it, and by pinching it, I'm moving it forward. And then I tighten this up again, move it up to my face again. Sorry about the camera stuff, but move that up to my face again. Have a look. Oh, damn, there's a little tiny bit of toe gap between the toes, so it needs to go down a little bit further, like that. Just shake that around. What I don't want to do is tighten it too much, because you do have that probability of snapping your carbide graver. Okay, that's absolutely perfect, and I'll do it upside down, but I might be able to show that to you. So you can see how flat that is. So that's perfectly flat now. So it shouldn't take much. I'd prefer, because there's less material on the toe, I mean, triangular, right? I'd prefer to have a gap in the heel than a gap at the toe, right? If there's a gap at the toe, that means the heel's touching. I got to remove a lot of material. If there's a gap at the toe, the pointed part, right, I don't have to remove as much material to get to the heel, right? So it's catching up to where the heel is, but I'd rather have it completely flat. Like that way I'm not removing much material at all to sharpen it, right? So same as last time, I'll pick a spot on my plate here, and I'll start back and forth like that. Now some people actually will take their gravers and they'll rub them on the steel plate on the outside. I find that with these carbide gravers, you really don't need to do that. Once you've got it sharp like this, and you've got the side completely sharp, because it's the side of the graver, and it's usually the right hand side of the graver that touches the material, right? You're good to go. So, and I just look at how much dust is being removed, and look at the shine on the bottom. The shine on the bottom of the graver really tells me if it's completely sharp or not. So let me see if I can get a reflection here. See that reflection? I could do a little tiny bit more, right? So I'm going to do that because I am anal retentive. The important part here is to keep this back roller on the ground. So the back roller is on like that all the time. Otherwise, your graver will not be flat and sharpened properly. You see that nice material I'm getting there? So I'm taking a nice amount of material off of this. I think I've got enough off there. So, and I can see by the soot that's on the side of the graver. So that's those. So that's two gravers done, right? And if you do the nail test, I mean, these things are so friggin' sharp, the nail test won't even matter. So if I try to do the nail test here, and I see the material coming off, that I know that that's super sharp. And you're not going to dull on this by doing the nail test because it's a carbide graver. And if you have enough time, you can do your buddy's nails too. So there you go. That's the nail test. That's the nail test. That's the nail. Test. Always put the graver back in the smaller container first, like that, and then put the lid on the top. Now, I did that a while ago, and it caught on the edge, like that, and I went like this, and it went through the bottom of this, and it went right into my hand. And man, did that hurt. That was a friggin' painful little graver moment, right? So now I've got the other one to do, so I'll show you what I do with that one. So this sharpener here, get yourself one of these. There's what it looks like. So this is an anchor graver sharpener. You can find these anywhere. Go on Etsy, E-T-S-Y, and they sell these. So there's guys that sell watchmaking anchor tools. There's nothing wrong with this anchor graver. You don't have to get a Belgian graver and be one of these fancy JD from France using the Belgian graver that I got from my great grandfather. You don't need to be that guy. So then I've got this, which is I think the Cadillac of all gravers. So this graver sharpener here, there's a patent. It says March 2893 EFB on the bottom. I don't know what the hell electronic flight bag. That's what an EFB is, by the way. That's your tablet in the aircraft. So patent is March 28th, 93. So 1993 maybe this was made. So this gives you the, I won't loosen this, but this gives you the ability to pretty much have this square, because you can loosen this and then rotate it to square it off. This one is pretty square. And then this one here also gives you angles. So if you were to remember the angle, if you're that anal retentive and you actually remember the angle, you could put it back to exactly where that mark is and have that sharpened. But same technique goes, except this time it's a little trickier because I've got these gravers here which are flat. There's sort of a little bit of a triangle there, but you're cutting with this part here. You're cutting with the most narrow part of this graver. And this was I think this was the 4 flat, right? So I will take out this piece of metal here, because all this is doing is holding the spot for me. It's in there pretty tight. Not sure why. It shouldn't be. Anyway, so I loosen this here and then push it a bit, and it will loosen that. And now I've got this out of the way. I can put this in here now. And this is a bit trickier because I want to move this all the way to the round part of the graver, and I want to, like this, and I want to make sure that this isn't rotated. So I got to kind of move it around and really just eyeball the end to make sure it's not rotated the wrong way. And so this, I end up like this with this one here, and just like the other one, I take this one and lay it down. And if you look at that, look at the toe is sticking way up right now, so I need to get close and dirty with this thing. So in order to do that with this graver, I basically can't use it like this, and there's no way. I've got to actually get in there and tighten this part of it here to get this thing touching properly, right? So if I loosen this up here, and luckily, as you can see, there's a little triangle on the end of this there to hold it, but there's a flat part too. So I think I might be able to get low enough and still hold some round stuff in there. Hopefully I will, because I don't like squeezing the part of the graver that's the blade part. It makes me nervous. That's all. I think, you know what, I think I'm screwed. You know why? Because I'm stupid. Let me try that again, okay? I just remembered what I did wrong. Put the darn thing in. Flatten it out like this. Make sure it's absolutely flat. That's why I said this was the Cadillac. Hopefully, I'm not even going to cut this out for the video so you guys can see that I am human. So I'm eyeballing the end there like that to make sure it's as squared up as it can possibly be. But once I have it like this, then I can take the whole damn thing and then rotate it. And now I'm rotating it to find the flat part. And now I'm looking at it with the plate just like I did before and seeing if it's flat. Right now the toe is touching. If the toe is touching, it's too far back. So I just rotate it again, tighten it up, look down at it. Now the heel's touching. We're going to do the old heel-toe dance today, I think. Now I could hold it and figure out what a jig might be. The heel is just touching and the toe's sticking up, right? So I want this to be lower for the toe. What's up now? The toe? Yeah, the toe's up. So if the toe's up, I need to lower this a bit like that. Just rotate it like this and see where I am now. Oh, I think that's perfect. Hang on. That's what I got now, and you can see I think it is absolutely flat. So I'm going to look at this up close with Mo Airy Loop, and that is absolutely flat, folks. So that's good. Now I've got it flat, but do I have it like this? Does it need to go this way or this way? So this is why it's very difficult with these particular gravers. In this case, it looks like it's rotated a little bit counterclockwise, so I've got to loosen it up and just jog it just a bit, right? And just loosen it ever so slightly so that it's still good, and it is. So that's good there, and that is about as flat as I'm going to get it today, right? So I'll tighten that up a lot, so I don't want it to move. And just like the other one, I'm going to be removing material, and this time I'm going to be looking for the toe to see how much material is being removed, right? I can see a black line, and that's usually healthy. And normally when I do this, I get right down close. I get really close, and I look at it with my thingamajobby doohickey, right? I'll just do it like this for now, for a second, to show you. And yeah, so there's material coming off the toe, and that's what I want, because the material won't come off anywhere else on that graver. And so the toe is good, so that one is sharp. The material came off the toe, and it's flat enough. So when you look at these gravers here, they'll show, and the very tip is perfect, and the other part doesn't really need to be perfect, because the only thing touching the part will be the tip. So you want to make sure that that's good and flat, and if you sharpen it correctly, see if I got a little more to do here. If you sharpen it correctly, there won't be any angle in when you're approaching the part. You won't have to worry about cutting at an angle because it'll be flat. I'm going to do a little bit more because I noticed the one side of it looked like it wasn't getting a lot of material off. So you can see a lot of material being taken off of this graver here. If I look at it again, what do I got? That is not bad right there. Clean all sides here and look at the flat part. That's perfect. So that's really good. And let me just remove the graver from the jig. So I know that the other one will be pretty close to this angle, right? So I can just put this one aside. That's 4 flat. I can attack 4 round. And actually I don't use 4 round that much, I think. I use more 2 round. So stick that in there like this. Now how far in is going to determine what the angle needs to be for this thing to be flat, right? So it's like this, and I'll just tighten this to see where I am. Then look at it again, and you can see the toe is sticking way up. So I can basically go back with this a bit more, like that. Flatten that toe out. Look at the graver. The toe is touching right now, just a tiny bit. So I can probably move it out just a bit more. Oh, that might have been too much there. Like that. Have a look at it again. Basically, look at it like this and see where I am. So that's not too bad right there. And remembering that all you're doing is, all you're cutting here is the end on this. You're cutting with the end, nowhere else on the graver cuts. So I just loosen it just a bit and lower it because I think I can get it a little bit closer even. The closer I get, so now the toe is up a bit, and I don't want that, so I'm going to move it back again. The closer I get, the less material I need to remove from the carbide graver, right? And if you do a lot of lathe work, you want your gravers to last a while. So that's good. Now I'm looking at it straight down and seeing is it as flat, true and flat as it can possibly be, and I think it is. So tighten that a bit more, and that's my graver set up now. And then just like last time, I pick a spot on my plate like that. Make sure the roller is flat. I grab it on both sides and then start cutting like this, and then I'll be able to look at the tip and see what it looks like, and as the material looks like it's coming off, and you may not, that might just be good enough right there. And again, I'll look at the tip, and that is good enough. That's cut. Thumbnail, you can do a thumb test on that thing, but this thing is so sharp it's not even going to move. It just pricks onto my thumb. So that's four round, 4R. So I've done 4 flat and 4 round, and I could do the other ones, but I'll be wasting your time. So I'm going to do the other ones on my own time, 2 flat and 2 round, exactly the same way. So that is the use of this particular graver holder for sharpening, or graver sharpening device. And again, the plates are, I buy them from China, and you can also get them that they look like this. They've got a little spongy pad on the bottom for grip. I don't, it's really a bit of an overkill, I think, but, and these ones are, again, diamond sharpening stone, it says, and these are 2500 super fine. So I use 2500, and you could do it probably with 2000 without a problem. I think 2000 is enough to sharpen a graver, but these are very nice carbide gravers. So I'm going to bring this with me to the lecture, and I've got the 2 other plates I have. So that's it. There's a quick thing on how to sharpen your gravers. Make sure they're flat as heck so you don't waste any material. And you just basically, with the carbide ones, you go back and forth. Your 4th part, not the back part, but the 4th part should be your last stroke, and you should be able to see some leftover carbide material in the tip, right? So make sure your last stroke is forward. I'm not sure if I did that, but I've been doing this for years, and it worked perfectly. So that's it. So JD signing off. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.